Pravesh Sharma is sort of wears two hats. So for 34 years, he was with the government, and about I think half of them or more, he was related. He was working on the agriculture and food sector. He's more famously known as the father of what we call the FPO revolution would take place in this country. And as MD of SFAC, he did a lot to promote the cause of FPOs and create enabling legislation around that. And right now, he's a sort of a co-founder of a agri-tech startup called Kamakan, and I think it's relatively new.
I'll make three quick points in this opening session, and I'll look at these three bills, rather they are acts now, they are laws. I'll look at them holistically. And I'll take off from one of the points that Mekhla made towards the end, that this is insufficient reform. And I'd like to place it in an even bigger context. You see, we have a tendency to look at any change, especially so-called reform, as a silver bullet solution to our very complex problems of that particular sector. Agriculture is one of the biggest victims of this approach. So in the 60s, we thought technology will solve everything. In the 70s, we went in for this whole state intervention approach. After the 90s, we more or less gave up on any coordinated approach, but we thought the market will solve all the problems. There is no single one-shot solution to the problems of agriculture. And what I think is missing in the entire agricultural sector is a holistic, multi-sectoral approach to addressing the many challenges that the sector faces, which Mekhla has identified. Kavita ji also in her opening remarks talked about rights and empowerments. So I see these reforms as inadequate because they do not address the larger holistic challenge in agriculture. After all, markets are only one part of the larger agricultural economy. There are challenges in the factor, markets. You know that except two states, tenancy is illegal in the majority of states of India. Yet, data shows that 80% of small and marginal farmers are leasing in land. So it's all informal tenancies. They cannot access subsidized credit, subsidized inputs. They cannot even take benefit under this new direct benefit program of the central government. So I would have liked to see reform touching all these critical parts of the ecosystem. Merely looking at one aspect, which is marketing, any reform is welcome, but it's, I believe, inadequate. That's my first point. The second point that I'd like to make is that the driver of this whole narrative that APMCs are over sort of rigid, they have exceeded their role, therefore let's do away with all regulation. I don't think this principle can be extended beyond a point. I think it's an accepted principle that all markets need regulation, whether they are capital markets or they are power markets or they are labor markets. Every market needs regulation. If there are problems in the regulation of agricultural markets, certainly that needs to be addressed. And I think there's no debate that the APMC has perhaps, when the APMC came in the 70s, you had the same kind of protest that you are seeing today against these laws. It was considered a huge, encroachment on the rights of farmers, on the rights of states. But over a period of time, the APMC played a role and then perhaps went beyond that role, not the point to, I think, dwell too much. And the third point I'll make very briefly is, I think we should not forget that the process of reform in this country has succeeded whenever there has been an incremental and gradual process. Even the 1991 reforms, though they are tagged at 1991, in fact had been building up since the late 80s. And the central government had been easing many of the strict condition of the license permit Raj. Now, if you see the history of economic reforms in India, it's the gradualism which has led to consensus and permanence. So every government that came, including the United Front government, which had the communists as members of the government, they never reversed any of the major steps that were taken since 1991. Everybody added to that because a certain consensus needed. And that's why, with apologies to my dear friend Sukhpalji, that's why the term political economy has the term political before economy, right? If you only had to, implement a Dhobi list put out by economists, there'd be no need for politicians or, social scientists or NGOs or bureaucrats, right? You could just take a list and, pass it through parliament. Political economy is a process of dialogue. And policy change, that's my last sentence in this segment, policy change has at its core politics and not economics. I'll rest my case here.